Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Group Project. Today I spoke to author Head of Spectre from Reddit. One of the most prolific and popular writers on Reddit Nosleep, Head of Spectre has written over 700 stories, which he's posted on the platform. His stories have appeared on Lighthouse Horror, the Nosleep podcast, and a slew of other great podcasts and YouTube channels. Some notable stories that I've read on my own channel by the author include My Best Friend and I Are Monster Hunters for the FRB, I Was Hired to Kill the Monsters They Made, and I'm a Vampire Hunter. I always love reading his stories, and they're some of my personal favorites on the channel. We talked about today's Monster Hunter story on the channel, written by him, as well as about his universe and his plans for future writing projects, about writer's circles, and getting silly with our stories sometimes. I really had a good time talking with him and hearing about his process and about the inspiration behind some of his favorite stories, including today's Monster Hunter story. There was also a surprise announcement at the very end, which I was not expecting. Okay, that's enough of my yapping. Here's my hour-long discussion with Reddit author Head of Spectre. Enjoy.
It was very, very difficult, so I'm like, I can't, in good faith, post this as it is. So I've gone back and I've rewritten it, and I've kind of taken a bit of the grimdark out of it, and in some ways made it so much worse.
I was gonna ask, do you feel like stories kind of like take you in a certain direction sometimes? Like I don't know if you outline or if you're a pantser or a planner, but sometimes it's like you almost can't help it. Like a story is just heading in a certain direction, and it's like the way you just said that just now, like the cannibalism stuff, and it's almost like you didn't write it, like somebody else wrote it. Like, do you ever feel that way? Like the story kind of writes itself?
Yes, on a lot of
Yeah.
occasions. So the way my process usually is I'll have, like, I call it scrimshaw. Scrimshaw is a word I like to use just for anything I throw together. It's not the right usage of the word, but it is the word I use. And I
Yeah.
have this kind of chicken scratch outline of just bullet points of what plot I want to go through, what needs to happen in the story.
Mhm.
Whether or not it actually happens is in the hands of little baby Jesus. Like, I kind of find a rhythm. If I'm lucky, I find a voice, and I kind of find a direction to go in. And sometimes the story sticks relatively close to the notes, and it's either good or it's bad, and sometimes it just goes completely off the rails.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely know that feeling too. So, you find like you have to rein it in sometimes. Like it's just going too far off the rails, and you just need to like make it a little bit more sensible, or I don't know.
Occasionally, yes. Like, sorry,
Yeah.
I cut you off. But occasionally, yeah, like, I'll kind of be, okay, I'm getting way too into this conversation between two characters. Like, this was a recent thing I did where there was this whole cut conversation that just completely derailed the story.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, no, this isn't gonna fit right now, because if I do this, the logical end of the story is that the rest of the story doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'll cut that conversation back, maybe save this for something else I can post later. But like it just was going in a completely different direction. So a few times, yeah, I've just had to be okay. This is going where I don't want it to go, and so usually that just takes me out for a while. So that turns something into a draft that just sits.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that so many times. Well, not so many times, but I find that happens to me more like as I've gotten more experience with writing. I'll get way too into a scene or into a conversation, or I'll take it on some sidetrack, and then I'll kind of like realize that it's not where the story should be heading, and so I'll just completely cut that section out, put it in a separate document, and just kind of start fresh, or start from like the intro basically, and say like, okay, now let's take it where it was supposed to go,
Yeah.
and just save that other document for never to be used basically.
I mean, I've got like a whole bunch of like half-finished scraps of just pieces that I've cut away from other stories that I'd like to kind of put elsewhere, and some of them do end up elsewhere, some of them don't.
Like a sequel, potential for a sequel later down the line or something like that.
Or something completely different. Like there was this whole going back to that Savant story, there was like this whole section that kind of explained how the character identified the taste of human flesh later on. And it's talking about like what was brain. It was a very disgusting thing, but it was
Yeah,
talking about brain, like tasting brain at their grandfather's cabin. that whole thing is cut from the final story. But I had this whole paragraph talking about going to a grandfather's cabin and trying hunting, and I thought, I mean, there's some stuff in there. Why don't I completely cut that, remove any reference to the original story, and now it's going to be its own thing? So that's somewhere in my drafts, and I'm working on that. Where it's just a completely separate story, just made out of scraps from the original one.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a few like that. I've got so many like half finished or partially started stories just kicking around in my Google Docs that I'll probably never get back to, but
Fair enough.
maybe I will.
I've got like, I don't know how many. I've got like a whole separate tab for Google Docs that I just haven't touched right now.
You ever just go through your old Google Docs and just like be like, oh my god, I completely forgot I even wrote this, like, and just find old stories and like dig them up and either maybe polish them up or just not do anything with them.
All the time.
Yeah,
Like, sometimes putting some distance between myself and an old draft is really what that draft needs to kind of eventually be a thing. And there's still some old drafts that I've kind of got in the back of my mind
yeah,
that I'd like to get back to because I feel I'm in a better place to write them. Like, there was this one mob story that I had the idea for it probably when I was a teenager. And again, this is like a heavy concept for a story about like trafficking and like drowning people and shit. And it's a heavy story. And kind of when I was thinking of the idea years and years ago, I was like just in college. I'm like, I do not have the emotional intelligence to write this right now.
right,
Like, I'm looking at the concept and I know that I, at the time, am not the person to write this and write it well. So
right,
it's never been finished, but now I'm kind of thinking about it again and thinking about the way I could do it or how I could do it. And I think I could write it nowadays, and I'm kind of thinking of getting into it again.
yeah,
But I could write it with the weight, with the respect, and with the complexity it deserves.
yeah. So it's like a mobster kind of story.
Yeah, very much like a very heavy mob story. I had a bit of a mob obsessed phase a number of years ago, and like I've got some early unfinished stuff that really plays into that I'd love to get back to.
Mhm.
Problem is, it's all just so convoluted. So I'm also picking up the old plot threads, like, okay, this works, this works, this works, this doesn't work. Oh, if I take this out, 6 different things down the line suddenly stop working.
Yeah, I find it's so hard to pick up an old story. Like I feel like they almost have a lifespan. Like I have two unfinished novels that at this point I almost feel like the first one's never gonna get finished. The second one I'd have to really find time and like really sit down for like a few days. Like I'd have to like rent a hotel room or something for a few days and just like sit in that hotel and just like work on that novel because it's like it's so hard to focus on, especially when it's an old story and it's been sitting for so long. It's so hard to find the thread and just find the groove of that you were in when you were initially writing it.
Oh, yeah. And like for me, like the old stuff, it's going back and reading it and like reading the voice and reading the person you were back then and being like, no, no,
Yeah,
whatever you thought you were doing, you were wrong.
I'm trying to think because what I've been doing is I've been putting a story up by the author before the interview.
Hmm.
Um, and so on my main channel, I'll put an author like a story from you on the Friday when this comes out. And somebody said you should really like break down and talk about the story, with the author. I'm like, oh, shit, that's a really good idea. Um, so I was like, I should try to figure out which story I'm gonna do because I have a few from you that I can read that you've given me permission for.
Hmm.
Like, it'd be good to like think of one that we could like kind of talk about and break down.
Fair enough.
Um,
Which ones you have? I cannot remember. I honestly can't remember.
so I have the hospital. Is it the clinic for Fae? I haven't read yet.
Fair.
Uh, um, the Malibu. So I have Clinic for Fae, Old Gods of the Forest, the Malibu one, which is like the
Mhm.
FRB Monster Hunter one, like it's like an interview style.
Yeah,
Uh,
that one's a fucked up one. I'm sorry. I apologize in
is it?
advance for that one.
That's okay. I have Fucking Spiders, which is another like Monster Hunter one,
Mm-hmm.
and Prison for Monsters. Uh, we don't have to talk about any of them if you don't want to, but if
I'm
you
I'm
want to.
fine with any of them. I've got stuff to say about most of them.
Oh, really? I
Oh
know.
yeah.
I saw Prison for Monsters. Or yeah, working a Prison for Monsters. I saw Lighthouse did that one, and it is like his number one video, which I did not realize when I asked you permission for that.
Yeah, fair
Um,
enough. It's popular. I don't know why everyone loves it because like I don't think I put as much love into that one as I have some other ones, and even trying to think about new entries, like I really struggle with it because I don't know. Like I find the prison itself kind of puts me off because I don't understand. I feel like I don't understand the prison as much as I should. So that's the
yeah,
only reason I struggle with new entries because I feel like I'm trying to establish the rules of that place still.
yeah. It's so hard as an author sometimes, like you to even wrap your mind around some of these places that we create.
It
It's
can be.
yeah, and especially you're so prolific. You have so many stories. It must be hard to get back into certain aspects of things. Like, do you have any idea how many stories you've written at this point?
I could probably get at least 700, around
Wow,
700.
holy shit!
But that's like
That's
including flash fiction, like the one-off, the shorter Carson entries. Like that's about everything.
wow. That's a lot. I haven't counted mine for a while, but I feel like I'm probably in like the 300 range at this point. And yeah, wow. So you're like double. So do you post every week mostly like on Reddit?
Honestly, I'm kind of hit or miss. Like lately, it's been more miss than hit, where I've like really slowed down. 2024, I kind of hit a bit of a wall and haven't been posting as often. But like for a while there, I was posting about 2, 3 times a week. And even now, like if I'm not posting something, like I kind of like I gotta write something. I want to put something up.
Yeah, yeah. I was doing that every single week. It's like an itch that you got to scratch when you're
It
posting
definitely
every
is.
week. It's like you don't want to let people down almost. And like I don't know, I find writing very like relaxing almost. It's like my happy place. It's like how I like to relax sometimes. So to me, feels nice to write something like, and if people enjoy it and I could share it with people, it's almost like it's an added bonus, you know?
Yeah. Like to me, it's very much just getting thoughts out of my head. Like whatever my current little obsession is, I want to get it out of my head and put it somewhere else. And that's for better or worse.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. It's like you have an idea for a story, and it's like you just gotta get it out almost.
Yeah. Even not an
Yeah,
idea, just like a certain vibe in the head. Like there's
yeah,
been a few interesting stories I've written and a few stories I'm looking to write that are just there wasn't so much an original idea as there was just this vibe that I've kind of got going on. I want to capture that and put that in a bottle somewhere. Like,
I don't know if you want to talk about the fucking spider story.
oh god, I pretty yeah, that's the Nino one.
Yeah, that's
Have
the Nino one. Yeah,
you read that one yet, or
I haven't actually read through it yet. No, I saw it looked really interesting, and I just like bookmarked it to read on the channel, but I haven't actually read it yet.
it was an interesting one. Like the original inspiration, it was an early Nino one, but the original inspiration was like some post I saw about like these mold infected spiders that were like still alive but not quite. So I kind of riffed off that, and eventually I added in this character who's become kind of a recurring character in my stories, a girl named Nina. And the whole vibe with her is like she's almost like a joke, but the joke is that when confronting any sort of entity, her reaction is always extreme violence.
I
Like
love that.
absolute mindless violence. Like the whole concept with Nina is that she's completely fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like no sense in this woman. She is just completely borderline psychotic, foaming at the mouth nuts.
Right.
And she stumbled into this whole monster hunting gig and is only effective because she's completely fucked in the head. Like I don't even know what like half the reason I keep writing her is because she's just so much fun to write because I look at a scenario and I go, okay, here's a regular scary thing. Let's add Nina in and see what stupid shit comes to mind.
There's something about a nihilistic character that's just fun to write. Of like
They
somebody who
they
just wants
are.
to tear the fucking world down, you know?
Oh yeah, they're so much fun. Like, I think there was a recent one I did where it's a stupid story. It's a very stupid story that I did recently with her, but the premise was based off this dream I had that involved, and this was before the meme, but in the dream it was like someone fighting a gorilla on a train. And that kind of just sat in my notes and like as a half finished, I had a whole draft about it, but the draft was too stupid to write because I'm looking at this and going like, no, this is too stupid to write as a serious story.
Hmm.
But I wanted to use the idea, so I just turned it into a Nina thing, and it just ended up as this weird bonkers thing about ghost hunting. Like it had a lot of notes in the original outline, but it's just me writing shit to be fun, to have fun. I posted it as an April Fool's story.
Oh, nice.
It,
That,
it
that, that
was
gives you
just,
a good excuse at least if it's April Fool's to post something that's just like just goofy and fun.
it was so stupid. There was no other occasion where I could post it. But I thought there's only one character I could put in this where it could be remotely taken seriously,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
that's just the whole time.
I think there's something really fun about writing a story that's just silly too, though. Like, it's fun writing serious stories too, but I don't know. I really like just writing very silly stories sometimes, and
Silly can be fun.
whether people get it or not, it's like, well, at least I had fun writing it.
Silly can be fun. There's a certain catharsis to writing just something bonkers. And again, that's why I keep going back to that one character because like the voice is always a little absurd.
Right.
And even there's other stories where I've written where like I don't take it entirely like the Tom Hanks thing. I don't know if you ever saw that, but
I was gonna ask you about reading that one actually. I haven't read it yet, but I did read the first. I was hired to kill the monsters they made, and I saw that it was the second one was Tom Hanks, and I haven't like I think I kind of skimmed through it, and I was gonna ask you about reading it, but
by all means, that's the goofiest thing I've ever written.
where did that idea come from?
An extremely stupid place. So the title of the original Tom Hanks one, the Tom Hanks Chimera. I was just working at a job like about 10 years ago now, and I was just driving, moving some cars. And I don't know why, but that phrase popped in my head, and I just started cackling at it, trying to imagine what the fuck a Tom Hanks Chimera actually would be. And then years and years later, I'm looking for like kind of clickbaity titles, like kind of funny things to write, because it was like back in 2019, 2020, and I was
Yeah.
trying to write just whatever could get votes, so I would just got into the habit of making the title first and then coming up with an absolutely ludicrous, insane story to go with it. Eventually, I remembered the Tom Hanks Chimera and thought, okay, where can I go with that? And I kind of just started writing, and I'd say the biggest actual inspiration was this kind of cursed video you can find on YouTube where it's in like this Gary's Mod source like type of video, and it's just the G-Man from Half-Life but warped into this crawling seven-headed thing, following the player around and whispering, "You need me, you need me," and that kind of became the basis for that.
Wow.
It was just absolute ludicrous madness. I had a lot of fun with it.
It's so funny how like us horror writers, everything we see turns into a story idea. Like, doesn't matter. I have a similar one that's just ludicrous and silly too. It's like there was that Taylor Swift as an android or Taylor Swift as a CIA um, agent or something that was kind of like going around for a while.
Yeah, I remember reading that one. That was really good. Because I read it, I'm like, sounds like Taylor's. Oh my god, it is.
I was just like, I'm just gonna write this. It just sounds so like I'm gonna write this from the perspective of the guy who designed the Taylor Swift android. And yeah, that one was so much fun to write. It's
And
just so
all the little lyric, like the song titles.
I had so much fun with that. I didn't know any Taylor Swift songs, so I asked my girlfriend, like, do you know any Taylor Swift? I think I Googled some too and was just like, we gotta squeeze some more in here.
Oh my god, that was just such a joy to read.
It's so funny because it got removed from No Sleep, and then I ended up reposting it when they had the no rules period for a while. But then when they posted the new rules, there was a like I swear it was a specific reference to that story that I wrote. It was like if you have a story about Taylor Swift being an android, or like it was like very much calling me out for writing that story because I kind of argued back and forth with the mods a little bit. I was like, I didn't specifically say Taylor Swift, and they're like, no, we know this is Taylor Swift. You're not getting away with this.
Was this before or after they implemented the new "you cannot talk to the mods" rule?
Oh, this was before that. Yeah, as soon as it hit number one, it got taken down. I was so disappointed. I was like, I swear, I left it just vague enough. I never mentioned a name, but yeah, and when they put up the new rules after the hiatus where there was no rules, they very specifically said like you cannot use celebrities and like even if you're just hinting at it, it's not really naming the celebrity. You still can't. You still can't do it.
Oh, boo. I'm honestly surprised I haven't gotten more shit for the Tom Hanks one, actually.
Yeah.
Or the Lightning McQueen one, fuck.
Oh my god.
I
I,
don't know
I
if you
like
heard
that you.
about that.
What's that?
I don't know if you even heard about that one, the Lightning McQueen one.
No, I haven't actually. I haven't read that one yet.
It was like one of the first ones I did, and it was on the No Sleep podcast, actually.
Really?
It-
Wow.
it- it's almost infamous because like I saw a couple references to it the other day, and people either loved the story or it's why they quit listening to the No Sleep podcast.
That's so funny.
It was like
uh,
I think it was the second story I ever posted on No Sleep, but the whole premise of it, like the story's called "Why I Hate Lightning McQueen."
I'm just looking at it right now. That's so funny.
The whole premise of it is that Lightning McQueen personally murders a man,
Is that Lightning McQueen? What?
personally murders a man's family.
Oh,
Like it's not the real Lightning McQueen. Like it's a guy who made his car done up to look had his car done up to look like Lightning McQueen, and he's like
right.
targeting kids. But
Okay.
like, so it's not like the actual character. It's just like a creep with his car done up. But the vibe is still the same.
How many have you had done by No Sleep Podcast?
6 or 7, I think.
Oh, nice. That's
It's been
impressive. I've sent them a few submissions. I never got anything in, but I kind of gave up because it took so long. It always took so long to hear back from them.
yeah, that I want to submit more of them, but like the turnaround just takes quite a while.
Yeah.
So, and I'm impatient. So I'd like to kind of sift through some like my newer stuff to see what would be a good fit and maybe send that in.
Yeah.
Because like I like the No Sleep podcast, but I also just I don't have the patience for the turnaround these days.
Yeah, I know it was like 6 months for a while, and I heard it's even longer now. It's like a year or more now.
It was a year like with most of the ones that I've sent in, although Lightning McQueen was the one exception. Lightning
Okay, yeah.
McQueen was so fucking bonkers that they took one look at it and said, "Okay, it's
Caught
on."
somebody's eye.
Like that was like on within a week after submitting it. Like that one was just so insane.
Yeah. There's something about like really goofy stories. Like sometimes they just work.
I had a lot of fun with that one. Like I understand, like again, like some people are like it's too silly, but that was the point.
Yeah.
The
I,
point
I have
was to
one
be so ridiculous. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
oh no, go ahead.
No, I was saying like the point was to be just so ludicrous that nobody could ignore it.
Yeah, yeah. I had one. I don't know if you ever read my Count Chocula story.
Is it Count Chocolate story?
Yeah. So I wrote one. It's called. Uh, I used to work. Oh shit! What did I call it? Um, I met the real Count Chocula. I'll never work with that bastard General Mills again.
Oh my god.
And it's like it might be the funniest thing I've ever written. And it's just like this guy who he's a marketing manager, and he takes on Count Chocula as a client, and he's working with General Mills, and it's like it's got like you know that movie Blow with Johnny Depp.
I don't actually.
Oh, it's just like I don't know. I can't even explain it, but it's like the early scenes in Blow where he's like a big cocaine dealer and a big drug dealer, and he's just like living the life, and he's making all this money, and that kind of inspired the beginning of the Count Chocula story. He's just like living the life, and I don't know. I can't even explain it. It's just such a stupid story, but I love it. It's so silly.
I just bookmarked it as soon as we're done. I'm reading because I have
uh,
to
Light,
read this.
Lighthouse Horror did it on his channel. He did a great job with it.
He usually does. Like he's a decent guy.
It looks like he's writing a lot of his own stuff right now, which is kind of cool. It's I know he's kind of started off writing a lot on No Sleep, and so it's cool to see him kind of writing his own stuff again.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
if he can write it, he can go for it. Like I mean, it's a good way to get your stuff out there.
yeah, I love the feeling of writing something myself and then sharing it on my own YouTube channel. It's like you fully own it and you feel like you're presenting it to your own people, your own fans. Like I don't know, there's something about that. Like I love your subreddit has so much fan interaction, which is really nice. Like you get a lot of comments, even when you're posting a story just to your subreddit. Like when I
Mhm.
like a lot of people don't get the same engagement as on No Sleep, but it seems like you get almost as much or more on your subreddit as when you post on No Sleep, which is really cool.
Yeah, I have noticed that. And, like I want to get back to like posting in other places. Like I kind of find that again, it's part of the wall that I've hit. I'm kind of falling back in my own little hole, but I want to branch out again and start posting more in other places. But I'm lucky that I do have like a bit of a community there that's really been supportive.
Yep.
So I'm extremely lucky in that regard. And I'm trying to like be more interactive, but I also struggle with it. Like I don't find that I'm very good with interaction. I don't know.
Yeah, I struggled with that too, especially on No Sleep. I found like the kind of the keeping up the immersion was not me a lot of the time. Like I felt like I was putting on airs almost. Like I'd rather somebody say like, "Oh, nice story," like I enjoyed whatever aspect of it, and like actually talk to them like a real person rather than
Yeah.
talking to them in character. But I get it's like some people really like the in character stuff, and I enjoyed it sometimes, but then sometimes I just felt like, I'm just not in the mood for this.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Like I've kind of even on my own like Reddit thing gone back and forth a little bit with like, is it a character, is it not?
Yeah.
And there's like, it's been sort of non-committal because like on some occasions I'm just posting as me, and it's fine to comment to me, and other times I'm kind of treating it like it's a framing thing for the stories, and
Hmm.
that's kind of been wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Like I even had a whole character set up as like sort of, I guess, a subreddit antagonist, but that kind of fizzled out.
I was gonna mention that. Yeah, you had like like a character posting on your subreddit, like in character, kind of who was like the bad guy, right? I read a
Yeah,
few of those posts.
I want to get back to that because like I had some interesting ideas for the whole Penelope arc, but
Right,
then again,
Penelope.
like I thought that it might be better to do it as like its own thing. So I
Hmm.
started like looking at stories to collect, and this is something I've kind of half committed to.
Yeah.
But like me, I could just do it as collections where I could kind of have that little narrative pop up in those collections and kind of work the Penelope angle there. Because like there were ideas, it just didn't really materialize the way I wanted it to. I might workshop it again in the future. I probably will.
I feel like it's something you could almost bring in every once in a while. Be like, hey, it's Penelope again, and like people probably would remember her and be like, oh shit, it's Penelope again.
Which it could work, but I mean, like, part of the issue, and I feel like I kind of handled it wrong, was that, like, there was supposed to be a little more mystique to the character and,
Yeah.
like, what their goals and their motivations were. And, like, I guess I kind of ripped the curtain down too early on that one, I think. We're like, okay, we all know that such and such is Penelope, and that's an alias Penelope uses, and Penelope folds people up and stuffs them into her mouth.
Are your readers very adept at like noticing these types of things, like finding the Easter eggs and finding the connections and stuff like that?
Surprisingly, yes, so. Like, I've had a few small references to, like, either other characters or existing cosmic entities, and people usually pick up on them. Like, I haven't had a lot that's gone by unnoticed.
That's a great feeling, eh? When your readers like get the wink when you're dropping a wink to the reader and they catch it.
It really is. Like, it's like, yes, you know.
Yeah.
Like, even there was that monster hunting one. It was like I was hired to kill a things they made, that series I was trying to continue. because I've been like trying to workshop that one because I want to finish it. But there were just I haven't the character in question wasn't even name dropped. They had a couple epilogues to the chapters, and at one point, one character noticed the smell of ozone. Everyone immediately knew who it was, like who was involved.
Yeah.
Like they immediately know, okay, that's Dr. Carson. Like immediately.
That's great though. It feels like you're almost making a joke just to yourself if nobody notices, you know?
It kind of is, yeah. Like, which is less fun. Like it's
Much
fun
less
when
fun.
people get it.
Yeah.
Healthy
Do
though.
you remember your first story you posted on Reddit?
I do. It was what was it called? How I Cheated the Devil, and that was an interesting one because like it was based sort of off this place I used to work like years and years ago. I only did some simple temp work there. 'Cause you know how Brantford is; they love their temp work.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was this basically abandoned warehouse. Like there were like a couple guys working there, but the thing was basically empty. So I kind of based it a little bit off of my experience there and wrote a story around like a colleague who'd been there. Not an actual guy, just made it up, but it was It was an interesting one where like he kind of cheats a succubus or something to cure his cancer, then relents on the deal and pays the price. It was an interesting one.
So you feel like it stands up in retrospect, like looking back on it, you feel good about it?
Yeah, actually, I do. Like, I think it was a
Nice.
pretty good one.
Yeah, I feel like the first one I posted to Reddit, like I stand by it. I feel like it's a good story. Do you like I don't know, I feel like I mature as a writer and like sometimes I'll look back on my older stuff and be like, it just feels a little immature, but um yeah, the first story I posted to Reddit, like I still feel pretty good about.
What was your first?
So there was one I posted called I picked up the Hitchhiker from Hell,
Ooh.
and I actually let my brother post it. This was before I even had a Reddit account. He posted it for me on No Sleep, and then the mods actually let me repost it on my account later on. So that was like technically the first that like I ever wrote that went on Reddit, and then on my own account I posted one called I fell down a bottomless pit, but that wasn't the worst part, and that was like the first one I ever posted on my own account, and yeah, I remember getting narration requests for it, like, and that's kind of what got me more excited about writing on No Sleep. Was like all of a sudden somebody wanted to narrate it, who has got like 2 million subscribers, and I was like, holy shit, like, and
It's a
was
good
offering me
feeling.
like $80 for it, and I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I didn't know I could make money for doing this.
It's a good feeling. Like, it's extremely validating, like, to have someone else and go, hey, this is good. Excuse me. I'm kind of... it's in my throat. But no, it's validating to have someone kind of, like, take a look at your work and go, hey, this is good. I want to put this on my channel. I want to kind of give this more of a platform.
Yeah. Do you remember the first narration request you got?
I do, actually. It was, like... The video is gone now, but someone actually asked to narrate. Like, it was a small channel who asked to narrate the Man Who Cheated the Devil one.
Yeah.
And I figured I'd let it. I figured to let it go, and then I think this probably isn't for everyone, but I think the next narration I got was actually the No Sleep Lightning McQueen one.
Oh wow.
But I also submitted it to them because like I thought, okay, this is so goofy, it's bound to get attention. I was right, so that was the goal of it.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just kind of been a whole bunch of requests, and I've gotten. Honestly, I feel like I've gotten more draconian with the ones I turned down.
You got more what? More what? Sorry.
Draconian, like more.
Oh.
Like I used to say yes to everything. Nowadays, I'm like, okay, well, if you're not gonna follow the interaction rules, I'm not responding.
Yep.
Like a little
Yep.
meaner about it, which I feel bad about. But at the same time, like I get so many just random people saying, "Can I narrate your stories?" Like, which one?
Oh
There's
my god.
700.
Yeah. I've stopped replying if they don't at least tell me what the story name is and the name of their channel with a link. I'm not gonna respond anymore because I just same. I feel the same way. I get too many requests and it's like I'm so tired of it going back and forth with people, and like I've had people get mad at me before because I asked them what channel they were wanting to post it on, and it's like that's the most basic question I can ask is like, what's the name of your channel so I don't DMCA you, you know? And it's just half the time they don't even respond when you ask them like, what's the name of your channel? And it's just like I feel like I'm just wasting my own time at this point, like replying to people.
It is, and like part of it too is like you want to make sure you're working with someone who's quality. Like back before AI voices became a thing, there was still that text to speech where they just post a whole bunch of like very generic text to speech videos. I mean, you
Yeah,
don't really want to be working with those guys because I mean they're not putting any effort into what they're making. So why should you give them something you put your effort into?
exactly. Yeah,
Or
and
but yeah, like it's like I don't want to work with those guys for obvious reasons.
yeah, 100%. And the worst is when they just say like, "Hey, can I use your stories for my channel?" Like, you want me to give you blanket permission for every story I've ever written? Like, how lazy can you be? Like,
It's a
and
little insulting. Like
it is
especially
insulting,
like
and especially when you have exclusive commissions, and it's like, no, you can't. Like, some of these are exclusive; you can't use them.
yeah, like the Velox stuff for instance, like I can't license those for narration anymore because again, they've got the narration license rights.
Right.
So, but that means if someone asks, I can't say yes. So I have to respect that licensing. Like I have to respect that.
Yeah. How many
Whereas,
people would you say actually follow your rule? Because I know you have like start the message with or put somewhere in the message howdy what is it howdy space cowboy,
yes,
which I think is great. Like it's like they really actually have to read the whole thing to know that. But like how many people would you say actually follow that?
it's about a 50-50 shot.
Okay.
Nowadays, I get more and more people who do respect it, but
Yeah.
like beforehand, I got no one. Like you'd get maybe 1 in 3. Nowadays, it's more and more people actually responding, but I think part of it's because I don't post as much like on like the big channels where I've
Yeah.
kind of taken a bit of a step back. So like I'm not as active where they're looking, so I get less attention from them. But I'm not going to complain about that.
Yeah, I feel like narrators maybe and writers as well are starting to realize that their work has value.
Hmm.
Um, because even just in the past couple weeks, I've sent messages to a couple of people on Reddit about stories, and the response was much more like level-headed and business-like than I've ever seen in the past. Like it's like people are starting to recognize that their stuff has value, which I think is great because I always offer to pay people and I always want to be fair with people.
Yeah,
But there's lots of narrators who don't care about that. So it's good to see people starting to recognize that their work has value.
which they should. I mean, like there were a whole blackout like about 5 years ago, just protesting like the kind of shitty behavior by some narrators on the platform. So it's good that there's been more of a push to, hey, we put work into this. We deserve to be treated fairly. We deserve to be compensated. Our work shouldn't be stolen.
Yeah,
Like there should be that push. There should be that sort of self-respect that a lot of writers have, where you treat what you put your effort into with the appropriate value.
yeah. And unfortunately, it's there's a new channel every day that pops up stealing stories, but we hopefully we can all get them taken down as fast as they can pop up, and you know, it's good that we have these circles of writers and we all alert each other and let each other know if you see somebody else's story getting stolen, and
Oh yeah,
you know, yeah. So it's good. We're
like
kind of working together.
there's like just a fantastic community around that. Though. Like it's a really wonderful community that we have here.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite parts about writing on Reddit is the community that I didn't even realize existed. That
Hmm.
now I get to be a part of, and it's all these great writers and people who really respect each other and respect each other's work, and yeah, it's nice.
Like it's better, and it's better that way too. Because like I've lost my train of thought now, but like to have to do it alone is a lot more intimidating. Whereas to have the community, even talking to guys like you, like it's it helps you learn. It kind of validates you, and like it's even the TC chat. Like you go in, and there's a lot of people who you can kind of relate to, which is nice. I'm butchering my words here, but like I'm sure you know what I mean.
I 100% know what you mean. Yeah, like for people who don't know who are listening, TCC, we're talking about the Cryptic Compendium, which used to be like a exclusive, like maybe 15 people kind of were allowed to post on there, and it was
Mm.
all like the kind of the top posters from Reddit Nosleep, I would say. Like some of the more popular authors from on there would get invited, and yeah, I remember like it just kind of opened up a whole new world for me getting invited to that group because it was like, oh, like I get to chat with these other writers who actually know this world, you know, of like posting on. I don't know. It's so hard to explain, but it's like getting to chat
It's cool.
with other people who are in the same boat as you, and who have also like had the same experiences of posting stuff online and getting torn apart, getting stuff removed by mods, getting narration requests. It's just I don't know. It's cool to be able to talk to other people about that stuff.
Well, it's a peer group. Like it's someone you can. It's people you can relate to. People who understand like what you've seen, what you've done, and like can do it themselves. So like it's very much colleagues, a peer group. Like it's something that's needed, honestly. Like you
Yeah,
need people to kind of be working with and to kind of even to a certain level compare yourself to see where you are and where you can improve and kind of where you stand.
yeah, 100%. I feel like sometimes I get a little down on myself comparing myself to other people from Cryptic Compendium because there's like people on there who for whatever reason like in my head they're like the real writers and I'm just like kind of faking it till I make it like Richard Saxon and like Max Voynich and like Travis like Grand Theft Auto. I just
Oh
always
yeah.
like in my head I'm just like oh they're like real writers. I'm just like pretending, you know, almost, which is,
Oh
really
yeah.
isn't fair to me, but yeah.
It isn't fair, but I mean, we kind of do it. Like I have, and I have never. I don't think I've said 5 words to Byfell's disciple in my life,
Right.
but I have in my head a little rivalry with them because like we started the same at a similar time,
Yeah.
and they've got like a million people following. I'm like, I wish I had that. I wish I had that. And like I've kind of got that little race against them in my head, which is probably not the best thing, but at the same time, like it's also a little good to have to kind of like look at where you are in comparison to others and where you want to be and maybe see what they're doing that you could maybe learn to do. Because he's fantastic at marketing himself.
He's
Like
such a good writer too.
he's a fantastic writer, but everyone here's a fantastic writer. Like it's
Yeah.
like comparing different cuts of filet mignon. But it's what sets him
It's
apart is just his marketing. Because he
it,
is just so good at that.
he's one of those writers who I like got a little starstruck chatting with, you know, like I felt like I was talking to a celebrity or something almost, you know, like sending him a message asking if I could read one of his stories or whatever, you know. I just almost feel like yeah, like he's a celebrity. I need to be like extra respectful.
I mean, on some level, he kind of is. Like, he's probably one of the biggest writers, like, ever to come on the platform.
Yeah, definitely in terms of his series and stuff too. Like his series are him and Girl from the Crypt have some of the biggest series I would say on Reddit No Sleep of all time.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of volume as well. Like they have both have multiple series that are probably in the top 50 or top 100 on No Sleep of all time.
Oh, yeah. Like, no question. Like, they are fantastic.
Yeah, he was very gracious. He let me read the I Inherited a Haunted House, so, or congratulations, you inherited a haunted house or whatever it's called. But the list of the list of rules and the guy who blazingly breaks all the rules in the haunted house.
I don't think I've read that one yet, but it sounds interesting.
It was. I think it's in the top 20 maybe or top 30 on Reddit No Sleep of all time. It was like hugely popular when it came out. It was one of those series that like everybody was following, and he posted it every single day. So every day it was like number 1 on No Sleep.
I do think I remember that now. Actually, maybe I did read it. My
Yeah,
brain is not working. It never, if it ever worked.
once you see it, you might recognize it. If you were like reading No Sleep stories at the time, it's hard to imagine you would have missed it because it was definitely like top of the charts for a few weeks there.
All right. I'm gonna
So
need to
yeah.
go find it and give it another look. It sounds familiar now that you're spelling it out,
Mhm.
but it's also probably been a few years.
Who else do you like on No Sleep? Like who else do you like to read?
Gas Station Jack. Like I liked a lot of the classics. Gas Station Jack was one of my all-time favorites. Like I like the whole Tales from the Gas Station. It's always fun. And Caitlin Spice, CM Scandreth. I loved her stuff, like when she was posting on the No Sleep podcast. So I've gone through and like read most of it, and she's just wonderful.
I don't think I've read much of her stuff. So what's her username?
Um, I think was it CM Scanner or something else? Can't remember what the actual username was. I remember like her subreddit was called Howlodine Library. So I don't. I think she. I think she put that one back up recently.
Oh, what's her?
Howlodine Library. I know it was down
Hallowdine.
for a bit, but she brought it back.
Hallowdine Library. Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. The Hallowdine Library. Kate Spice. Oh, okay.
That might be a new account, but like she doesn't write as much as she used to, but she was like really prolific.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think I've read any of her stuff, but I'll have to check out her stuff.
She had some really good stuff.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed her work.
Yeah. Cool. I always like checking out new authors. What about like published stuff? Do you have any like favorite authors books?
Easily Stephen King. Like I was always
Yeah.
reading Stephen King back in high school. I've kind of fallen off a bit nowadays, but I mean, like he was my go-to for the longest time.
Same. Yeah. He's the king for a reason, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
have you read
And
most of his books?
everything prior to like the mid 2010s, I'd say.
Yeah.
And there's some I'd like to go back and reread just to kind of get back into it because I find my reading's fallen off past couple years. I want to start reading more again.
Same. Yeah. Have you read the John Dies at the End series?
I have not, but I've heard good things.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. It's Jason Pargin. Um, Fantastic series. It's very Gas Station Jack sort of vibes, like very silly, um,
Ooh.
comedic horror. Very, very like thought provoking too, though. Like he's got some ideas in there that really make you think, and that kind of stick with you after you're finished reading. So I highly
John Dies.
recommend.
I want to write that one down. I was recently reading about another book that I wanted to give a look at, House of Leaves, and I was
Yes.
hearing about that, and like I've never heard of it before, but like I was hearing some stuff about like the type of story it was. I'm like, ooh, that sounds right up my alley.
It's so good. Yeah, I've got it on my bookshelf to read it again because I read it the first time and it's still in my top 5 all time, like across the board of any book I've read. It's so good. Um, it really gives like no sleep vibes because it's like it's all about like this guy kind of trying to decipher the mystery um,
Ooh.
of the House of Leaves and kind of going through these found materials. I don't want to give anything away, but it's like fantastic. I would highly recommend that one.
And I was just hearing about it and thinking, okay, this sounds like it's again right up my alley. And funnily enough, I heard about it from this video I saw on a freaking Doom mod of all things.
Oh yeah,
Like the Doom mod was slightly based upon the book, like not entirely, but like there were elements of it.
that'd be
And
cool. I always thought it would be a good horror game because it's definitely very dread inducing. Like just reading it, it's you get despair just reading that one.
ooh, I do like me some despair.
Yeah,
Yeah,
highly
yeah.
recommend that one. Grady Hendrix is another one I gotta get some more of their books. They're very like comedic horror vibes. I was talking with Victor about them,
Hmm.
about him.
Interesting, interesting, interesting.
Yeah, there's one horror store. It's like IKEA horror by him. That's really good.
IKEA horror. That's a,
Yeah,
I thought that was an SCP.
it is an SCP, but this is the book. Um, it's even better than the SCP story. It's called Horror Store, and it's like the
Ooh.
whole book is like in the format of a IKEA brochure. That's a
Okay,
really
that's a
good.
really cool format, actually.
Yeah, it's really really good.
I love weird formats in fiction. I do it a lot myself. I love like kind of taking something out of the standard just narrator describing a story and kind of finding a new avenue approach. I find that very interesting.
I always like that
And
too. It's refreshing to see an author try something different. Like, I like that when Stephen King did that. Sometimes it'd be like a journal entry or like a a newspaper article and just kind of slip that in there instead
Oh
of
yeah.
the traditional third person or first person perspective. Just like have a newspaper article suddenly like showing from the outside perspective what happened. You know?
Mm. And I've done a number of stories like that where it's either been like documentary format or something like that because I find it kind of gets me out of like any writer's block I have
Yeah.
because I'm approaching the story from a new angle, which I think it's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
it's
one
always nice to break a little bit from your traditional format.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like one thing I do when I have writer's block is I write stories as like an interview, like back and forth. But it's honestly, I'm of two minds about it now. Like on one hand, it makes it easier to kind of get some stuff down, and I can kind of focus more on conveying emotion through the dialogue.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, like I find I do it a little too much these days. Like whenever I'm like really stuck on something, like okay, let's just put it in interview format.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because it's like a movie, you know, like in a movie, ideally there's no exposition, there's no voiceover actor, and it kind of kills the vibe a little bit when there's a voiceover. Like I watched a Adam Sandler movie the other day with like David Spade in it, and David Spade's character was doing a voiceover throughout the whole movie, and I kept thinking like it's kind of lazy as a writer to do voiceover explaining in exposition what's happening. You know, it's like it should be ideally doing it through dialogue or just like letting the viewer figure it out. It's like kind of the laziest way as a writer to write
Yeah.
something is through exposition.
Like it's less interesting that way. Like it's better to have the emotions be felt. Like the best stories that I've written and the best ones that I've read leave a more emotional impact. Like it doesn't say, "Oh, such and such happened." It makes you see it and it makes you feel it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
That's something that's hard as a writer is not doing exposition and just letting the characters explain what's going on or letting the reader figure it out through the situation. You know?
hmm like I think probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie, and this scene has there's dialogue, but like it's not explicitly said. You ever seen the movie The Assassination of Jesse James?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's an old cowboy movie, and it's a good movie. It might not be the most entertaining to watch because it's not an action movie. It's basically a movie about the final days of Jesse James before he was killed by Bob Ford. But
Okay.
it's just this slow funeral dirge of a film with Brad Pitt playing Jesse James and uh, what's Casey Affleck playing Bob Ford,
Okay.
and it is slow. It is melancholy. It spends so much time kind of letting you feel this hollow atmosphere, and at the very end, when the actual assassination happens, there's one line of dialogue where Jesse James says, "Oh, I'm going to dust off this picture." But by the way he says it, he knows what's happening. And there's this slow march as he goes. He turns his back to the guys with the guns, like Bob Ford and his brother. There's this slow piano, and you know from the moment the scene starts how it's going to end, and you know he knows. And they don't say a word. There's just the looks of it. There's very little explained, like outright said.
Yep.
It's just the looks they're giving each other and the tone, and you feel the silence in that room, and it is crushing. And there's just this knowledge that like that's the end of the road for Jesse, and he knows it. The game's up, and
Yeah.
this is just him basically saying, "Okay, I'm bowing. I'll bow out gracefully." It's
Yeah.
a beautiful movie. It's depressing, but it's beautiful.
I'll have to watch that. There's not enough of that in movies and TV anymore where they trust the audience to respect the silence, kind of. You know, like The Office. I know it's a comedy, but it was like The Office was such a slow burn show, and they would have these moments of like 7 seconds of silence where they just let a joke land, or they
Oh
let a
yeah.
moment of um like awkwardness or uncomfortableness just sit with the audience. You know, and I feel like you have to be so talented as a director or the creator of these properties, these movies, TV shows, to be able to recognize those moments when silence works better than words. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's something that doesn't happen often in movies and TV anymore. It seems to be less and less.
No, like one thing I hate in movies is like when the editing jumps all over the place and like it
Yeah,
doesn't give the scenes time to breathe. The
yeah,
scenes need to breathe.
yeah. There's something about that melancholy and just that slow burn atmosphere that I love that too. Like when the director when they they have enough patience and the ability to make that work. It's so weird how silence and like a quiet moment can really like work better than an action sequence or whatever. I don't know. I'm
Sometimes
butchering my
silence.
words here, but
No, no, I got what you mean. Sometimes silence speaks louder than anything you can say,
yeah,
and sometimes because silence can mean a lot of things. Silence can be tense. Silence can be peaceful. Silence can say something that might otherwise words might otherwise not be able to convey.
yeah.
Like there's so much in silence.
I was
Even
talking
like
with.
another movie that I really
Sorry,
like. Sorry, I cut you
go
off
ahead.
again.
Go ahead.
No, but there was another movie, The Boy in the Heron, that came out recently, and I remember
Okay.
one of the scenes that I love early on. There's a lot of kind of pregnant silence in the movie, especially early on, like when he's like first in the house. And I find that silence says a lot because you can kind of feel a lot of what the character's going through, despite the fact that he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
Like there's just this loss, there's this absence, there's this grief to him, there's this anger at his situation, and it's very realistic in a sense. Like even when it's quiet, there's just so much being said.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for filmmakers, like more and more when I notice these kind of things. And yeah, there's something like especially with horror and thriller and suspense, like the idea of just seeing the character on screen and just there's just silence, there's maybe some background music and it's just something there's something spooky about it and like especially if the vibe is set up correctly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was talking with G Trip about um we're talking about the movie 7 and the scene with the head in the box, like what's in the
Hmm.
box. And it's like, they never actually show the head in the box. Like, yeah, I think you're right. They don't actually show the head. He's just asking what's in the box, what's in the box. And the viewer just knows based on the situation and everything else what's going to be in that box, you know. And we all know it was the head in the box, but they never actually show it. And like Brad Pitt's acting in that again is just fantastic.
Oh yeah. Because like I
Yeah.
feel like it puts you more in the spot of the character. Because at that point, he hasn't seen what's in the box. You don't need to see what's in the box, but the knowledge will hit you so much harder than the visual.
Yeah.
And like you can kind of put yourself in his shoes. Like, would he be even be able to look at it? I don't know, but it's just you. You kind of are with the character right there in that moment, and it's really hard to do it right. But when you do it, it just sticks with you. You're there. And whatever horrible thing is happening to them, it's almost like it's happening to you too.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about like trying to do a movie, like any sort of film version, either yourself or like one of your stories get made into a film or something like that?
I mean, I fantasize about it a million times, but I
Yeah,
don't think
same.
I could actually do it. I think everyone's fantasized about their writing becoming a thing. Honestly,
Yeah,
the one thing that if I had to have anything become a film, it'd be the one like more noir crime novel that I was working on for ages, because I feel that one had a bit more. You could do more with it, with the way the characters interact, or at least the way they're supposed to interact. By now, the whole thing's probably old garbage, but the way I want it to be would have more to it.
yeah, yeah. What? So if you could have one story of yours made into a movie, would you say that's the one?
Oh yeah, because I feel like even like going into my like no sleep writing, I still find that I kind of those characters, like only one of those characters ever popped up, but like there's still a love for them that still kind of permeates everything that I've written since then. Like it's always kind of going back to them in a sense, where that kind of that whole book kind of like laid a lot of the groundwork I would write later on. Like a lot of it traces its origins back to there.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of your stuff is very connected. Like, would you say like your entire catalog, all your stories are connected in some way or another, or they happen in the same universe at least?
Oh yeah, like there's definitely like a lot of interconnecting threads, and even those threads go back to the unpublished stuff, where like a couple characters will appear, or there'll be mentions of organizations that are like a factor in there. I don't touch it as much because I don't really want to play too much in that sandbox, but I really can't help myself on some level.
Yeah, yeah.
But like there's definitely like a shared uh connection there.
That must be challenging with like so many stories. Like, I know I've asked you about certain stories, and you're like, I don't even remember writing that one. Like the copper one I asked you about recently, and I read on the channel, and you're like, I don't even remember what that's about. But then I was reading your fifth floor story the week before that, the security one, and it references the characters from the copper story. And it's like, oh, that's so interesting. Like,
Wait, does it?
it does, yeah. At the end, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's so interesting that you have so many stories that like they can overlap, and yeah, like I'm sure I'm the same way. Like I forget, some of my stories. Like I probably wouldn't remember really what happens, or even that I wrote them. But yeah,
Fair enough. Honestly, though, I consider it almost a bit of a limitation because at this point I've kind of painted myself into a little bit of a corner where if I'm starting to like float a new idea, my mind starts immediately going to, okay, but how does it fit in? And I honestly consider that starting to become a little bit of a problem because I'm locking myself in a bit of a box. Like there was an idea I had recently where like I have a whole folder of images that I just use for inspiration. I'm looking at some that might fit with this idea I have about like entities out in Nunavut. And while I'm kind of piecing together this idea, like a kind of rough outline of what I might want to write, my mind keeps going, okay, like how do the entities fit into the rest of the thing? What created them? What of the existing pantheon made them? And I'm thinking like, well, why does it have to be a byproduct of some existing entity? Why can't it be its own thing? So that's
right.
kind of where I'm falling into a trap.
Hmm.
Or even
Yeah,
like I was looking at like other like little extra dimensional stuff to write, and I'm thinking, well, that sounds a bit like this other thing I did, so maybe that's connected, but maybe it shouldn't be. Like it's kind of a double-edged sword.
it can be for sure. Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
I
not.
think there's
Sorry,
something to there's something to writing like something that has no explanation too. Sometimes I just like doing that, like just having no explanation whatsoever for what happens, and just letting the reader kind of guess.
which is fun. Like it can be a little more fun in some regards, especially like, and like I feel like, well, again starting with my words here. Especially once you have like that whole interconnected universe of stuff where you can attribute everything to either a certain entity or a certain phenomenon or a certain such and such, to then pivot and have something that you don't even know what it is. It's an almost like an outside context problem for whatever world you created. Something that just you can't explain it as a writer. Like
Yeah,
you don't want to explain it. You just want it to be this unknown horrible thing. There's something kind of fun about that. Like it's more exciting when you don't even know.
100%. Yeah. Do you feel like you need to like keep raising the stakes as your universe goes on, like, or is that something you don't really worry about? Because like a lot of the time, as a writer, you feel like you need to raise the stakes with each as the story goes on. You need to raise the stakes. Like, might be the town or like the person is in trouble now. Later on, it's got to be the whole world, and then maybe the whole universe is in danger. Like, do you feel like that's something you think about, or you don't let that really influence your creative process?
Yes and no. Like, on one hand, yes, I do feel like the stakes get higher. But one thing I think I was a little smart about is like the overarching conflict in my little world is less about like extra dimensional threats and whatnot because there's already an established pantheon of deities, and I'm trying to kind of limit myself to those four, so nothing goes above them. There is concepts for things that kind of supersede them, but they're like far, far out. So I've tried to kind of limit myself to inter-organizational conflicts. Like there's one organization that's more vampires and stuff. There's one organization that's like really messed up, like aggressively Christian fascist dudes. And then there's one organization that's more research. And like I'm trying to focus more on the conflict between the organizations because I feel I can keep that more grounded. And I can keep that without going too crazy. Although I did kind of have an idea for like what would the craziest possible way to do look like. So I wrote like
Yeah.
a rough little treatment of what the apocalypse would be.
Did
And
you
like
did you
okay, like
post that one somewhere?
the treatment, no. I
Oh,
It was just like a vague outline of okay, like if I was gonna write a story where everything finally boiled over and hit the fan and then the apocalypse actually happened, what would it
yeah.
look like? And that was just kind of like a rough outline of what that would be. Just some ideas, and I don't even know if I'm gonna write it or not. I might not, because like
It,
once you go apocalypse, you can't go back.
yeah, 100%. Kind of hard to do on No Sleep too.
Oh yeah, it would have to be its own thing. That's why I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna do it any point in the near future. Although it could be fun.
Yeah, I could see those organizations having to work together, maybe, or would they be fighting each other? Like, it's
Oh,
kind
it'd
of
be full out war. It'd be full out war.
right. Yeah, I
Like
guess that's
the
probably the way things would go in real life too.
like the whole idea was that like the whole Christian fascist organization finally found a way to like bring their god into the world, and at just everything boiled over, and it ends with someone actually managing to kill that god, but reality has to end in the process.
Okay.
So that was the whole rough outline. But I mean, it's a whole deep, deep, deep can of worms with the whole deep lore and whatnot.
Yeah, and yeah, you make a good point. Once the apocalypse happens, you really can't go back from that. It's like if you unless you're gonna go back in time and write things from before that happening, it kind of closes the can of worms. Like you can't you let the can of worm or whatever you want to say. Like once the cat's out of the bag, you can't put him back in.
Yeah, like it becomes a bit too much. So I might not. I don't even know if I'm ever going to actually write it. Maybe years and years down the road when I've got more and when I've got more going on, but or less going on. I don't know. But right now, like it's just not in the cards.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I'll let you go. Anything you want to plug before we go?
Um, Aside from like the coming Velox thing, but I don't know when that's coming out. It could be either later this year or early next year. Uh, but aside from that, nothing really.
Are we cool to leave that in here about the Velox book? Like, there's
Yeah, like
no big secret
I
or anything about that.
honestly, this is probably the first time I've ever like discussed it with anyone. Like I've kind of mentioned it in passing, but never actually said Velox or never said there was like be anything published. So I guess this is technically the closest to an announcement I've gotten so far. But yeah, I'm good to mention it.
Exclusive announcement.
Ooh, no, fancy.
So you heard it here first, folks. The new book from Velox from Head of Spectre coming out through Velox Books. It's gonna be a collection of what 30 like five, is it
30, 30,
five exclusives and a bunch of
three,
previously published stuff.
three exclusive and a bunch of previously published stuff, but they're really meaty exclusives. Well, two of them are.
Right.
One of them's like normal length, but two of them are really meaty, and I'm really proud of them.
Oh yeah, I mean the one is 80. You said it's 80 pages, so yeah, I can understand why it's three. Not yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting that and putting that on my bookshelf. That should be a good read.
Hopefully, I hope it doesn't disappoint. I was pretty proud of the well, all the exclusive, but like the two meteor ones especially, I was really proud of. I had a lot of fun with those.
All right, man. Well, yeah. Thanks again for chatting with me. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, of course, anytime, man.
All right, I'll talk to you later. Eh?
All right, take care and see you around.
All right. See ya.
Bye. See ya. Bye.
Okay, that's it for my discussion with Head of Spectre. It was really cool to hear his takes on so many of his stories and to get a chance to chat with him. Next week on Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be mixing things up a bit. This next talk will feature G-Trip 14, and we'll be talking about my own work and my writing process in kind of a reverse interview format. So stay tuned for that. And please feel free to leave any comments or questions in the comments below. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode of the group project to help this new channel grow. I really appreciate all of you for your support. Alright, have a good night, everybody.